I guess we'll get started, and I'll kind of tell you a little bit about frequent low stakes testing, how I got involved with it, and then I want to hear about you. I know Ann, I work with Ann, so. So with frequent low stakes testing, I got involved in it when I first came here. I'm a maternity nurse, and there wasn't a maternity class. It was an integrated class where I had to go teach in other people's classrooms and just do my content in their existing class. So when I went, I had two different classes. One of the teachers used every day when she came in, she gave them a quiz on the reading assignment from that week, and then would go into the lecture and the activities and everything. Hey, we're a really small group. That's being moving. I was just introducing myself. That's all right. So when I did the class with the person that had done the quizzes, the students were way more involved, way more engaged. They had a clue what I was talking about. They were with it, and we got so much farther in the lecture. And in the other class, they didn't. They were just, just everything was new and fresh, and we had to start from the beginning every single time. So it kind of got me a little bit excited about those kind of quizzes. Then they had at Center for Teaching and Learning that year, this was like 2007, 2008, they had a teaching scholars program on frequent low stakes testing, and I got involved with that. And there were maybe 6 or 7 of us from all around the university, and we all used it. We were all studying frequent low stakes testing, but the way it came out, everybody's was totally different. So how they were using this concept. So what I thought we'd talk about today is the concept of frequent low stakes testing, how it fits into the theory of deliberate practice. I'm going to give you some examples, and then I wanted us to kind of talk over how you might use it in your class, and then I'm going to show you some future applications that, so there's some cool stuff out there. Can you guys tell me a little bit about you? You've probably been doing it all week.
No, I'm at Carter Cram, and I'm in modern languages. And I teach primarily online.
Oh.
And so I came to this session because I was very interested in the idea of, after some of the other sessions, flipping the classroom more than I have already, having the students listen to a short 8 to 12 minute, presentation of the material, and then having some sort of, low stakes test over that lecture, if you will, before they come to class, where we can then do more, use the material a little bit more actively and spend less time on explanation and more time on practical use.
Great. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on a little bit too. Ann?
Teaching clinicals, I just kind of love it.
But frequent low stakes testing could be used in clinicals. I mean, you could get a lot out of it.
Yeah. So you can see where there would be applications. I don't know.
Hi, I'm Chris Innes from the philosophy department. So I'd like to use these just to highlight the detail that's necessary, because I'd already used them in multiple questions, just to say this is a full detail you would need if you're going to discuss or analyze this particular problem.
Oh, okay.
So it's just for that purpose. And I don't even grade them in this case, as long as they're in the classroom, they're going to test, quiz, whatever. And we've gone through it afterwards, so they now know it. And so it's just a way of putting some detail that's needed.
Excellent. So you're already using it too. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I teach U.S. history. I do not use mobile devices. I haven't taught in the classroom for 2 years because of various other obligations. So in terms of survey classes, which I'm going to start up again in the fall, so this was a good idea for me to start rethinking it. And I heard about frequent low stakes testing yesterday, and I understand, I think, what it is, and it seems like it might be potentially useful. So
yeah.
That's why I,
Good, excellent. So what I've been asked to do is to talk more about the concept of frequent low stakes testing and how it's used, and less about mobile devices. I can't help it, I'm a technology geek and I just love technology, so I'm going to show you some stuff anyway, but we'll kind of save that a little bit. And it may or may not involve wild pigs, so that doesn't make you excited. So it's interesting you talk about a survey course. When I first got involved with this, we actually brought a speaker in from, I think, University of New Mexico, who taught one of the entry-level psychology classes, one of those giant 1,000-student classrooms, and had terrible grades, terrible dropouts, just because, you know, how in the world do you reach this many people? And he started implementing frequent low-stakes testing and had some great results with it. Alan Heaps from Academic Technologies would know his name. I can't remember it right now, but some interesting work in this kind of area. So with frequent low-stakes testing, like I said, what we're going to talk about, the difference between high stakes and low stakes. We're going to talk about how it relates to your discipline, and just get some ideas for how we might use it. Then we're going to move into some other ideas for new technologies that are out there and that you might find interesting. Maybe you already know all of this, but in my experience, when we work as a group, as a team, we can all be talking about the same thing, the same strategy, but the way we implement it ends up being so different. Even with Ann and I both in nursing, she's more of a clinical person, I'm more of a classroom person, and the way we're going to use it is just going to be different. So when we talk about frequent low-stakes testing in the literature, there's a couple of different things that come out. You'll see articles both ways. But one of them is really on the difference between high stakes. So high stakes examples are things like the GRE, the SAT, you know, if you don't get this, then you won't get into the college you want and your, you know, life will fall apart. That kind of stuff, GRE. In nursing, we have one, the NCLEX exam, and it's an ugly, ugly test. So once you pass, you know, once you graduate from college, in nursing, you're still not a registered nurse. You have to pass this exam. So it's a national standardized exam. Some states you only get 3 chances and you're done. You have to go back to school. Idaho, you can keep retaking it, but you know, it's this big, cumulative, stressful exam that they worry about from day one in nursing school. So, you know, there's a lot of issues with that. And then also No Child Left Behind. I mean, we're seeing this with teachers. You know, they really stress out on, here's this exam I'm giving my 3rd graders, and it has implications for funding for the school. It talks about me as a teacher. It talks, you know, so there's a lot of issues there too. Older kids, 10th grade, you know, it's you have to get this benchmark or you don't, you know, you don't get to go on, you don't get to graduate, or, you know, however the different schools have got that set up. So we see these high stakes testing all over the place. So in the literature, when we look at low stakes testing, some will say it has no, you know, no consequence for you. So, you know, 3rd graders, you're going to take this math test and, you know, we're going to use all this data, but it really doesn't mean anything to you. And the problem with that, so we've seen it used in colleges and higher ed, other things. The problem is, well, what if I give this test if you've got no consequences? What's going to keep you from answering C all the way through, or even finishing it? Who knows? But you don't care about it. So that's one way that they've defined low stakes testing. Another way is, you know, you do have some consequence, but it's very minimal. And so that's kind of what we've looked at in nursing particularly is, you know, for example, my class, there's 1,000 points in my class. They take 15 low-stakes quizzes, one every week, and they are worth 10 points each. So it's 15% of their grade. So each question, I mean, it really is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, but nursing students, if you guys don't know nursing students, they're high achievers. They want to do everything perfect, and they just freak out if they don't. So that 1 point out of 1,000, you know, we'll hear about it, have meetings about it. You know. Just nursing, that's the way it is. So what are is this kind of melding with what you guys think about frequent low stakes testing, or thinking something different with it, or?
It seems to me the most feasible and likely use to which I would put it would be like either a short analytical writing task in response to a classroom lecture or something like that, or you know, kind of bubble graded multiple choice quizzes every week or so to see if they've learned, and then try and get feedback. I don't do that. I mean, I sort of do it irregularly, but what I'm hearing in this week is, you know, there should be a closer correspondence between what we teach and how we teach and how it's affecting the students and what to do with the students that aren't getting it or feel left behind and whatever, all kinds of stuff. So the low stakes testing, meaning a graded for low pointage type of assessment tool that's continuous through the semester. To my way of thinking, that's good because it doesn't eat up a lot of time, but it does produce a kind of accessible result.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Definitely, and being able to use tools like Blackboard or you know, the iPad or anything, that's really half the battle. Because so when I started doing this, I did it by paper pencil, and then I'd have to grade them all and enter them, and it just really didn't go well. I mean, I did it, but you know, they'd save up and they'd get this giant pile, and then I'd have to sit there and just enter. But now, I mean, now you can really get it so it talks to Blackboard, or it's in Blackboard, or you know, different ways around going with that. So it's all about striking balance with low stakes testing. All about hitting balance. So another reason why we would use frequent low stakes testing, we're seeing this in nursing a ton, this deliberative practice theory, and part of that is because of the way simulation is taken over in nursing. So we really like our students to practice on a patient as realistically as possible before they actually get into the hospital and work on real patients. As people who may go in a hospital, you should appreciate that. So we've got a sim lab over there. It looks like a hospital. There's six beds. We have some with mannequins that do a whole lot of things. We have some where we can put actors in, and they are the patient for the day or whatever. And it's all about setting up a scenario that's just a little bit higher level than where they currently at, so that they can go in and practice do something in this scenario, and then give them feedback, and then they get a chance to practice again. So it's this deliberative practice theory, and it came out of actually looking at how some people are experts in sports and kinesiology, and you know, why is it that you know this person is so much better than this person? Is it just genetics, or is it how they're practicing? And this Erickson, he's the guy who developed it all, he actually tested in a whole bunch of different areas, in music, in chess, in healthcare, chemistry is another one. So all these different studies on how people learn and how they practice. So it's not just time on task, but it's how do you make it so it's effective time on task. A lot of studies with students as well, looking at, you know, it's not just how long you sit at a desk staring at a book, it's what do you do when you're doing that? You know, how are you trying to incorporate and learn this material? So deliberative practice, frequent low stakes testing is one way for deliberative practice. I'm going to show you a video. First one is my partner. He's the pediatric portion and my OB portion in our class. And he's going to explain how we use it, frequent low stakes testing.
It's not going to be an hour, is it?
What?
It's not going to be an hour, is it?
12 minutes. He was very short. He's a little long-winded. Just that way.
Well, hello, my name's Max, and for you non-nurses sitting there in the audience, that stands for How to Interpret Pediatric Complete Blood Counts and Liver Function Test. And this is, this is one of many articles that we'll post that, is pretty cool and pretty awesome. Totally worth their time, but as I said before, as cool and as awesome as I think it is, they may not think it's that much. They may not.
I don't know why the screen is not.
Well, hello, my name's Max, and I'm going to do a little chat here about some specific things that we're doing with our high-frequency, low-stakes testing over here in the nursing department. Kelly and I have been teaching a class, child family nursing, for a couple of years now, and every semester we try to do more and more things where we are helping students to master test taking, but at the same time not have this crazy, insane amount of pressure on them for all of their for their tests that keep coming up. Maybe you guys can relate to that. So I'm going to go through a few things here, and as you'll see, I think I'm pretty good at making myself look like a fool on video or in my use of technology, but it's all a very calculated effort to make you, the viewer, the listener, feel more confident in your ability. So that's my whole plan there. It kind of gives me a little out for anything that's going on during this video. First up, let me see if I can get this to work. A PowerPoint slide that I thought might be fun that we could go. So maybe you're asking yourself, why are we doing high frequency, low stakes testing? Well, I'll tell you why we do it. We're kind of in this unique curriculum where we, I'd like to do this stuff here. We have a very structured curriculum here in the nursing department. It's off. What we do is we have lots of governing bodies, lots of accreditation bodies that come in and audit our program all the time because, you know, we have lots of important measures for our graduates who have to go out and literally do life and death stuff pretty soon after out of school. Therefore, there's a lot of things going on in our curriculum that are mandated. And one of the biggest things that hangs over our head for the 5 semesters that we have our students is the state board exam, the dreaded, we call it the NCLEX test. Oh, I'm off here, my thing here. But our state board exam lingers over us. Our graduates all take it. Therefore, as they progress through our curriculum, we kind of feel the heat a little bit to continually have tests and test questions that are like that state board exam. So even though we try to get off of the mindset of, oh, this test is really huge for your grade, we can't lose that. Therefore, Kelly and I have started, I think we've done a good we started a good process over the last couple of years of trying to take some of the stakes out of it, yet still throwing those skills of being good at the test in with just lower stakes items. I'm going to go over that here in a second. But another thing, I think, a theme of our class that maybe strikes a familiar chord with some of you all is the amount of class time that we have. And we have it, I apologize, my red thing's a little off here. Our time seems to be going down. We have a 3-credit course. We're going into 4 credits this next fall. But even though we have theoretically 3 hours with our students each week, we just, because of our crazy schedule, and, again, probably you guys could probably talk a lot about your individual department's schedules as well, but we have to really struggle with trying to time it all in. And for us, we literally have, starting this fall, 4 hours of time for our students, but the only time we can have for them is Monday. And then we match that up with the other classes they're taking, and suddenly Monday becomes this death day. And if we're kidding ourselves if we think that we have their undivided attention for the 9 hours that they're there in class all day. And some of you guys, hopefully you're laughing a little bit about that, but don't laugh too much because it's true. And so we've really struggled with, the credits we have with our students as it goes up, but the time we have has been going down. We actually have less time with our students, that's what I'm trying to say. And it's a real struggle. Hence, we are really pushing our class, and many other classes over here in the nursing department do the same, but really throwing it out on our students to say, you guys have to do more outside of class.
That's where you work, so that's
and there's going to be a lot less of things going on in class that could be accomplished outside of the class. Mainly, the main theme of, I could go on about that, the main theme is less of the traditional stand in front of your PowerPoint, talk to your students, reciting what they could have read in the book, what they could have deduced from the articles that you posted for them, or going over the videos that they could have watched, because really, they need to do all that before they come to class. And for us, Kelly and myself, class time has become so sacred where we just can't devote a microsecond of time to anything that those guys could have done on their own. We need to just hash out important interactive things in our class time. But for main thing I want to talk about toward the tail end of this video is what the main thing that we've done is trying to do things that, I'm trying to think of the right word. I want to use the word bait or entice, or I always use the term that the carrot, hanging the carrot in front of your student to get them to actually come to class ready to participate, or they are ready for whatever discussions or clarifications that Kelly and I are going to be doing. We're not going to sit there and say, okay, chapter 1, let's talk about chapter 1, and I'm going to rehash that. No, none of that. That's all going to be accomplished long before they come to class. But as maybe other departments have the idealistic, altruistic student that always does what you say. They always read everything that you ask them to read before prior to class. But for us, we found that the vast majority of our students don't do anything unless there's some kind of incentive. And for us, it's points. We have points. Your grade is determined by how many points that you get. You can get a B if you get this many points, but if you want an A, you come with higher number of points. And so all of our activities outside of class, we found really need to tie in some points to it, or we may have a lower participation rate. Maybe some of you guys can relate to that. Maybe some of you guys have no clue what I'm talking about. But I think most of you do. All right, now bear with me as I mess this tech. No, I don't want to do that. So as I continue along, let me show you an example. Kelly's got a lot of really cool things planned for you here. But what I like to show you is this. Let's just say I post in Blackboard, hey guys, read this chapter. And I'm going to fire up a little tech here. We're trying to get more with our Elsevier reps to show this. So here's one of, we have a textbook that we use for our class, and here's the ebook version of it. And so let's say I say chapter 49. You guys come to class having read about hematology and immune issues. And so as you guys are reading your book, you're going to be reading, and I'll scroll this really fast here, about anemia, and here's some really important lab results that you guys should be comfortable with, and how we measure red blood cells, and I can go on and on in this. And so I typically will make a few of these Camtasia videos where I'm not spoon feeding them. I'm just, essentially you can see where I can highlight. I'll show you. Let's say I said, hey, you know what? You guys should really understand that you need to have, if someone's anemic, they probably need some oxygen. That might be an important thing. See how I just highlighted that? I'm going to say that's an important thing. Make sure you guys read about the care management of your patient who really needs, who has some issues here. I'm just winging it here. So anyway, they would read the book and watch that. And then, another thing I could do is say, hey, and don't forget I posted this really cool article here about how to interpret CBCs and LFTs, and for you non-nurses sitting there in the audience, that stands for how to interpret pediatric complete blood counts and liver function tests. And this is one of many articles that we'll post that, is pretty cool and pretty awesome. Totally worth their time. But as I said before, as cool and as awesome as I think it is, they may not think it's that much. They may not prioritize it. They may be doing something that they perceive as more fun. I can't imagine what's more fun than reading about CBCs and LFTs, but those great students, they do that all the time. So then what we do, let me fire this up here. This is what I've been doing. I feel pretty good about this. Is I have these, I call them pre-class quizzes. And when I fire up a pre-class quiz, what I do is I usually make it due right before class. So this quiz will be due before class, and I give little instructions here. Hopefully you guys are used to this, but Kelly will explain enough in both of this, I'm sure, in her chat today. So when they take these quizzes, I usually make them 10 questions, and then I put them in our state board exam format. We have some different formats, but on this particular one, I think I stuck with the standard 4 multiple choice questions. And so these are questions that really would come out of the assigned readings for the week. But it's my goal here that as they're taking this quiz, that they're kind of hunting through the readings that I have for them, trying to find the right answers, because my point to this is each question has a point associated with it. And even though it's only 1 point, in our class we continue to have 1,000 total points available, they always add up. And as those points add up and we have quiz after quiz after quiz, it keeps them practicing these types of questions. And so that's our goal here, is to not only is it to get a little bit of practice with our state board type questions, but also forces them to hunt through those chapters and those articles that have been posted, so that when they actually come to class, because this quiz would be due for class, they'll have done that. Now, one thing that I learned in grad school, and I've kind of been repeating this, is when I have these quizzes done, I'll go ahead and say, Ms. Min, I didn't do any of this here. and obviously that won't affect my grade because I'm the instructor of the course. But what happens is I'll usually post this, and look, I got them all wrong, but I'll structure this in a way where they can actually take it twice. And I do that intentionally with the thought that I know a lot of them will simply take the quiz and probably get marginal to bad grades on it. But then when they have a chance to go take that quiz again, essentially what I've said is I give them 2 opportunities to take the same quiz, but I don't, on my response feedback, I don't say, here's what the right answer is. I might say, hey, check out a certain section or check out this page to kind of force them to go back and redo it. So it's an intentional way of forcing them to really get on it as far as getting into the specifics that I think are really important, and mainly because I'm planning on talking about those things in class. Therefore, if someone's done this quiz, I can assume they've at least hunted for that answer, and they can get that. So that's just one thing that we're doing. I'm going to do a little time check here. Where I'm at. Oh, I'm way over. And that's just what I wanted to talk to you about today. Quickly, there's some other things I could show you. I could show you about these videos that I can post that have some specific verbiage associated with them. And then the last thing I was going to mention is this really cool thing that I'm starting to flirt with. I think Kelly's got a lot more to say about it, but it's this TED Ed function on the TED website, the TED.com website, where you can actually fire up a video. I won't fire it now because things kind of run in slow motion and I use Camtasia, but I fire it up. But then you can actually do this quick quiz option where you can actually embed your own quiz questions in these videos. I think that's got an incredible amount of future potential, but I'll let Kelly talk to you about that more. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my brief chat here, and have a great day.
All right, so so that was kind of our solution of, getting them in there with the content. They've got a lot of things that they have to do in the nursing program. It's a really intense program. And you heard him talk about the 9-hour lecture day. We're 4 hours of that. That's disgusting. And it's because of all our clinicals. That's the only time that it falls out with clinical sites and clinical placements. I can't keep their attention, no matter how exciting I think I am, for 4 hours. Not going to happen when they're in the middle of a 9-hour day. So this is one way that we can kind of grab their attention and have them work on the content and get some consistent working on the content. Max sets it up where they go through twice, which is fine. Sometimes I do it that way. Other times I'll have a pool of questions. So let's say I've got 20 questions loaded, and every time they take it, they get 10 questions, but it's a different 10 every time, so it's another way.
So it randomly selects 10 out of 20?
Random block. Yep,
push a button.
You can do it automatically through Blackboard, and you can call Ellen if you have questions. Just kidding, call me too. Yeah, it's just another way to do it. Blackboard also, if you have pictures, you can have them do hotspots with pictures. You can have them rank order things. I mean, there's lots of cool new ways that you can set up questions through Blackboard that are just kind of fun to play around with. What do you guys think so far? What do you think about this kind of idea for your classes? Any new ideas?
The pre-class testing will be a good idea.
For your content?
Yeah, because I'm trying to set up methods whereby the students prepare instead of me warming them up for the first 10-20 minutes that they're already warmed up, as it were.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Are you upper level or lower level?
Introduction.
Introduction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you have the gamut.
Does your cohort close the test prior to the opening of the class?
Right, so the class this semester it started at 8 a.m. Test closed at 8 a.m. So you got to have it done, and we have it.
Could you do it twice?
Yep.
Before this, so you
Yep.
do the thing, you get your answers?
Yep, it's open for like a week, so they could take it any time, but it's over at 8 a.m. So those emails that we get with, oh, I overslept, I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Immaterial.
It's in our syllabus that we close it. We just can't go there. Most students do take it. It's not very often that we have students not doing it, most of the grades are 8, 9, or 10, so 80% or higher. You know, they have a chance to take it twice. You know, they really should. All the content's there. We usually, you know, it's not about making it really, really difficult. It's just getting in there and looking at it and trying to piece it together before, so we can talk about it and have more meaningful conversations in class.
I mean, in my case, I'm lecture driven. I have a syllabus that's coherent and linear. And I hand out ID, standard issue stuff, an ID list of 40 or so terms per third of the semester. The way I pitch it is the ID list is the key to everything. It gives you the multiple choice answers, it gives you the ID material, it gives you the evidence for an essay. I think that makes sense. But in this case, I could use the IDs on a weekly, break them into like weeklies, and use the low stakes test on IDs, either online or in class, and just, you know, that would take 5 minutes, and then I grade them or whatever. If I could do it, I don't use Blackboard except, I don't know, I think I posted syllabi on it and stuff, but I keep hearing from everybody how much they hate it. And so I've never really gotten that far into it. However, I'm still open to suggestions. But it seems to me that there's a ready-made vehicle for me to use low-stakes testing, and it could theoretically encourage students to actually give a darn.
Yeah, well, and to keep them from, you know, that mass studying the night before, the weekend before, you know,
the 3 spikes of super intensity.
Exactly. Let's just kind of work on it every week.
Right. Yeah.
In an ideal world, you know, it helps with that. I'm sure, you know, not everyone's going to take it seriously anyhow.
We also offset, in my case, the problem that I have to tell students you won't know where you're at until the first exam. You're going to crash, and then after that you can clean up. But that's like 5 weeks out. And so that's a little uncool, yeah. So this would be a way to remediate that hang-up.
Yeah. I think it's worth, you know, it's worth a try. Alan, who was that speaker that we had from University of Mexico? Yeah, what was his name from psychology?
It was right there.
Was it? Sorry.
I'll find his name.
Okay, well, he did it, yeah, like I said, it was a large 900 or 1,000 student classroom and had some great results with his students' performance from before he started implementing it and then after, you know, so.
And was that then he used platform Blackboard for it? And so it was like
Blackboard or
E-graded,
WebCT.
E-registered, you didn't have to go through 1,000.
Absolutely, you can't. I mean, I have 70 students and I struggle. There's no way I would do it. And any ideas for clinical?
Just to clarify, the points are based on, they have to get it correct, right? It's not just a participation point,
they have to get it right. Yeah, it's not like a participation, you sign a form when you walk into class and then you leave. No, it's not. You gotta try.
It has to be content driven.
Yeah. So how about you, Kim? I'm interested in modern languages. What are you thinking?
Well, kind of, I mean, like when you started out, I pretty much want to use it the same way you're using it right now. So, the same idea and the same reasoning for doing it.
Yeah. And you've done it a few times? Or?
Well, I did it a little bit differently, but same concept, just kind of different order in the chronology of it all, if that makes sense. So my sort of weekly quizzes were, you know, a few questions, pretty real low stakes, every week, but they could complete them any time during the week. It wasn't necessarily, you know, before 8 a.m. before class time.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm going to switch.
Yeah. Okay, good. How about disadvantages? You guys seeing disadvantages or ideas that we can chat about as a group? What are you thinking?
Time eating is always the thing I struggle with. I know that each semester I'm going to have 3 periods where I do super high intensity grading. And that's good. I'm used to that. Like I said, there are problems in terms of keeping students tuned in and all that. So if there is a reliable means of doing this electronically, and whatever time I put in was like learning how to use the platform, and then I had it, that's okay. But when I have had quizzes in the past, which I normally do anyway, couple times a semester, math quizzes or something. They're on paper, I grade them, I enter the grade in a book, you know, whatever. And I realize that's becoming something of a thing in the past, so I'm willing, if not quite ready,
You're considering,
to move
contemplating
into
jumping.
the digital grading world, just because, you know, push a button and I've done that where, you know, you put in the formula plus, bingo, and the numbers are there, and there, I don't have to mess around with the calculator. So yeah, I'm, you know, getting there, but I do think that would be a useful thing.
Well, I'm going to show another option, and this one is using, this is making use of YouTube videos that you might see.
Well, hello, my name's Max.
Oh, stop.
I'm going to...
No, Max. Okay. This is a TED Ed, and this one was made by a friend of mine in New York. She teaches in New York that we've had some collaboration with in virtual reality, of course. But this is just an example of something that she's made using a YouTube video on child abuse, which is what she teaches, and how you can make it a testing with it. So I'll just show a tiny bit of the video here, because you'll get the idea on that.
He doesn't ask. It's hard to see the pain behind the
This particular
mask.
video goes through different things that they want them to learn about different types of child abuse. And then what the learner can do is they can actually click on the think, which is the quiz button, and save my answer, go to the next question, save my answer, the next question, and then there is a way, and sorry, that must be a long one. There is a way that you can link it with your Blackboard. I haven't figured that out yet. My idea on this is if I were to use this, then I'd have them write down their answers and then put them in Blackboard if I can't figure it out. But just a workaround. The other cool thing with this is, so you've got this video that you didn't make, but you're using, and then you made some questions on it, and then what you can do is you can link them to other resources that they might find useful. You know, here's a topic on the New York State CPS, if you wanted to go to that. So it's just kind of a cool way, and then she's got some questions, some critical thinking type questions, all linked to this video, so you're being able to use, so instead of just sending them to a website and saying, look at this, it's look at this, here's how I want you to think about it while you're looking at it. So just another option for frequent low-stakes testing that could work really well. I could also see it working in class with like a think, pair, share activity where, you know, you're watching it, you're going to do some activity with it, and then you go with your partner and talk about, see what you have different, and then talk as a large group. I like doing that think, pair, share stuff.
Gordon Hodge was the name of the guy in New Mexico.
That's right. And I think if you look him up at the library, I think he's got some good articles.
I'm actually going to put out on the website for this session, I'll put a link to the NCAT description of what he's doing, what they're doing at the University of Mexico.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, he's really an interesting guy. So let's go back to. So I have some articles. I'm not going to have us. I was going to have us actually read them in tables because when I thought there were 34 people here. Since there's 4, we're not going to, but they're posted online, some articles on frequent low-stakes testing that you can look at and get some ideas on. Or they are soon?
They are. They're on the Blackboard course site, and they're also on the wiki for this session.
Good. And they're not like total the answer, but it's just things to think about if you're kind of interested in looking at this a little bit more. So ideas with how to use frequent low-stakes testing, we've talked about Blackboard and random block. We've talked about just doing it paper and pencil as a way to do it, before class, after class. Have you guys looked at clicker technology? I think you've got that this afternoon, just as a way to have, using PowerPoint, it's just a plug-in that goes into your PowerPoint that you can make questions on and the students can have responses. The cool thing with that now is you can get the Clicker app on your phone or the iPad or whatever and use it without having to buy a separate device, because that's the problem is
Students as well.
8,000 devices. What?
Students do that too, right?
Yep. So students have a device somehow. You can buy a little individual device that's, I think last time I looked, they're about $45.
That's it.
Yeah, you have the receiver, but there's also apps for it.
The free app is a Clicker app.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so that
Turning
eliminates
Technologies.
that
Yeah,
extra
exactly, the
cost
extra
to
thing.
students.
Yep.
And something to lose.
App in the battery. That honestly, that was one of the issues I gave them up, is because the batteries started going dead. And it just drove me crazy. So I played with them a little bit and I lost interest. So the other thing I want to talk a little bit about is what if you made your own apps? There's cool stuff out there. There's free things. This one's for Android. It's App Inventor. It is my favorite thing in the world. And this is the Apple operating system, because the app, the different operating systems, they don't cross-pollinate. They're separate. If you wanted to look at those, you could. I wanted to show you, I promised you wild pigs, so we'll go ahead and look at wild pigs. This is just how it was used in one class.
A science lab doesn't need to have a ceiling. A science lab doesn't even need to have walls. Applying STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, our class used an entire national forest as a living laboratory to study the impact of the feral hog, an invasive species that is wreaking havoc on the environment.
The hog was brought to the Americas by early explorers as a food source. The warm climate and lack of major predators, coupled with the prolific breeding habits of the hog, allowed these animal populations to swell to devastating numbers.
Feral hogs compete for food sources with deer and other native species. They eat wild turkey eggs and other young animals and damage plants and stream banks with rooting and waddling activities. Over time, this endangers other wildlife and reduces stream quality. The feral hog invasion is becoming a nationwide threat. After extensive web-based research and interviews with hunters, farmers, and even a couple of PhDs, we learned a great deal about methods of culling the feral hog population. We propose that using methodical trapping techniques is a solution to managing hog numbers. So we created a wild hog blog to share resources and techniques for maximizing trapping success. Students programmed a smartphone app for tracking hog sightings using GPS coordinates.
We even set about building a better pig trap in collaboration with our technology center, using the new plasma coder to create trap components.
Numbers came to mean much more than just pages in our math textbooks, as we collected and used real measurement and applied statistical equations to estimate hog populations. Monitoring wildlife populations is a long-term commitment, so we have already set about passing the torch and the calculations to our feeder school counterparts.
Invasive species have a damaging effect that cascades through the food web. Whether it's quagga mussels in the Great Lakes, pythons in Florida, or wild hogs in the South, we must all persevere in our efforts to protect and preserve our environment.
Okay, so wild hogs. So the reason I showed that is I couldn't pass up wild hogs for one thing. And the other thing is because there are a bunch of kids that made these apps, and they're really, with these free platforms that are out there, it's pretty cool stuff. So particularly this App Inventor, this is from Google Labs, and they're using it a lot in schools for teaching students about programming, but they've made it really simple, so even people like us can make actually do this. And it's pretty simple to go through, either in a book format or they have an online class for the App Inventor. It's pretty simple to go through and make a quiz app that you can use and then just put on the Google Play or Android Market and set it out free for your students. The problem is you've got students with all sorts of different devices, so that's an issue. But it's just something that if it's something that's interesting to you, it might be worth looking into. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I haven't done. All I've done with the Apple is buy the book yet. I don't even have an iPad right now. So that would be something that could be useful. I haven't investigated it more than to see that there's a lot out there. So this is one. This is just a picture of a woman who was in her PhD program, and she was a nurse practitioner. She made an app for patients on pap smears, and just a teaching tool through that. And I just thought it was kind of neat because it shows that you can do anything. Pictures, she's got links with it.
My pap.
Yep.
My pap. Hey,
Women selling people are kind of weird. And then, let's see. And here's one with just
part of the popular culture. Have you watched that comedy?
No.
The Big Bang.
Oh, really?
They make their apps to represent certain interests, and then say they're going to sell them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's all, and when you look at some of these, they've got it made so you don't need to know programming. You just need to have your idea on what you want it to look like, and then you can do it. So I'll show just one more quick one on, just different ways it's been used. So maybe it'll kind of give you some energy to try it if you wanted to.
Before I took admin dinner, I thought computer science was just a bunch of nerdy people who were sitting behind computers, writing lines of programming.
I thought it was all about databases and equations.
Before this, it was just kind of intimidating out of this world, like nerdy thing. And I thought of the apps as just really smart people who built them. I never thought I'd be able to do anything like that.
I realized it was more.
We started with a pilot program in the fall of 2009. One of the nicest things about this course and using App Inventor is we've attracted a completely different clientele compared to the traditional computer science student. And these students have great left brain, logical sides to them. They just have never been exposed to this kind of work. Instead of trying to remember all the commands, typing them in, you make a single little error, you get this weird error message. You don't really have that with App Inventor. You can see everything you can work with. You just drag it out. You plug blocks together, almost like doing a puzzle. If the blocks don't fit, you can't plug them in together. So instead of kind of reprimanding you for making a mistake, it doesn't let you make a mistake. Almost every student can start building mobile apps, which is a mind blower for most people.
So I'm sitting here holding what I would refer to as the every person's canvas. And the every person's canvas in this instance and in this instance is powered by Android, the open source OS. But it's App Inventor that is actually the palette or the paint that will allow every person to be able to paint on these canvases. And that is the exciting thing about App Inventor.
I originally took it because I wanted to fulfill my math requirement. I always hated math and hoped that doing computer science would be something totally different. And ended up falling in love with computer science and App Inventor. Just the program as a whole was really interesting and not necessarily easy to use, but just kept you wanting to do more. The first day, you are looking at this and you're like, no, you can't make an app in 10 minutes or however long. And at the end, you had a working app. That was my favorite. I think that's what made me really realize that this was a totally doable thing and got me pumped, because if you can go into a class the first day and do something and then just build on that and end up making full quizzes or full games from scratch, I mean, that's awesome.
As a TA, you kind of see a lot of people coming from many different departments and many majors, getting excited and generating some great ideas and then executing them. So I've had the opportunity to kind of help them and answer their questions, try to foster ideas for those who maybe don't have their own, and it's a great experience. I see a lot of creativity, and I'm constantly being surprised by students.
The idea is they wanted to have a course to make computing really accessible for non-majors. For a lot of students, they get really frustrated with the syntactic details of programming. Where do the parentheses go? Where do the semicolons go? And you can waste so much time messing around with that you lose sight of the fun part, which is creating something and building something. And so App Inventor lets you totally sidestep all the annoying little syntactic details and focus on problem solving and creation, which I think really is very engaging to a lot of our students. It gets them excited about computing and gets past that fear of technology. And so what Professor Wolber did was he developed this partnership with Google to program your phone using this tool called App Inventor.
I had the opportunity to audit Dave's class where he utilized App Inventor to introduce students to computer science. And it was a great opportunity to really see how an incredible educator leveraged the App Inventor technology to really get students that hadn't really known a whole lot about programming and mobile phone applications, really get them excited and inspire them to become creators of technology. So it was a great experience.
Because technology is so pervasive in people's lives, I think it really is important that some amount of computer science, if you will, be sort of part of a standard kind of curriculum in the same way that it is for, math and social studies and, science and, and all the science.
Okay, so forget 8 to 12, we're on 5:23. We're talking about how long videos should be. So what do you guys think about, is that...
Sounds intimidating still.
Still intimidating?
Not that I'm not interested in looking at it and giving it a shot, perhaps, but yeah, I never really had a plan.
I think as they indicated, you got the people who make these apps, but they don't have the creativity. So I definitely have ideas. So would there be people around here who do technical stuff?
Well, they're through Ed Tech. The program here, they actually had a class using App Inventor last summer and last fall.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be offered again. I wanted to take it this summer, it just didn't, they weren't offering it. So there is that. I started playing, I bought this book in April, and I didn't have time to work on it till school was done. And in the last 2 weeks, I started really playing with it, and I've made 3 or 4 apps already.
Yeah.
So once you just get in there, you can do it. All the videos are on YouTube and they're free, but they also have a course that's $99, an online course through an online Blackboard site, and it literally walks you through each little thing. And it's just, once you kind of get the nuts and bolts, it doesn't take very long.
Right.
I know that Leslie, who's giving part of the presentation now, in our department, she is way ahead of just about everybody else. And she is sort of hip to creating apps and wikis and all that stuff, so she can guide us.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess not all departments have such a person, so we're lucky to have one. But I feel the same way we're just hearing, I quail at the thought of putting 50 or 100 hours into learning how to do something when I could be spending that time on a whole raft of other things, some of which are even classroom related. So because it's the being behind the 8-ball routine that sort of is a disincentive to me. But once you get to this level, which has seemed to be what happens with computing, it's moving from program writing and having to have a bachelor's in computer science. You just buy a book and you can do it. And so I think the movement is in the right direction, but even with those books, it's still obvious. I just flipped through this one. There's 200 pages of stuff to go through.
But see, when you know what's out there, then you know to ask your partner in your building or to look for other options for partnerships. Because, I listen to, where the parentheses are. I have no interest. I will never, ever care where the parentheses are. You know, but I really love being able to make something and do it another way. So, you know, so I know what you're talking about, but I think it's just about figuring out what's out there and how can I use that, and is it going to work in my department? Can I find someone to work with? Is it something I want to play with or not? You know, there's lots of options out there for all of us. So, you know, we have to kind of pick and choose and think what's going to be the best for our students and for our teaching.
But the idea that any person can create an app and make it available is a pretty big deal. I mean, whereas you would have had to hire an expert a year or two ago to do that. Now there's even, you know, you can make your own web page by downloading a program or whatever. And all these things that once required semi-geniuses to navigate, now any idiot like me.
Exactly,
theory,
from your living room. Yeah, I made a little one on labor induction, and it's just so the medications you use to start labor for a pregnant woman. And it's just a little quiz, you know, I could probably build on it and do other stuff. I was basically making it for a template to see if it would work and could I mess with it and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I posted it just for fun. And there's been 17 downloads already this morning. So so there's some possibility. I mean, I don't have all the answers. It's not that cool. It's really not that good of an app. It's my first one. But, you know, but I think there's some good potential.
So did you post it in Appland rather than on
Google
Boise?
Play.
Okay.
I'm just playing with it, you know, it's just a little free little thing to see how I can make it work. But I love the idea of a student being able to have it in their pocket, they're sitting at the bus, and to be able to look through and work on some content. You know, where other time they'd be wasting time playing solitaire or Angry Birds or whatever. You know, why don't we do something that benefits me and my teaching?
If you get an app that will induce the Angry Bird.
Seriously, that's a good idea, Alan.
What's your app
called? It's not that good, so I'm kind of embarrassed to even say. What's it called? All right, well, hold on, I kind of forgot. It's nursing student quiz, and then colon, and then it's.
Do you have an Android phone?
I do have an what?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I have an Android.
Yeah, that's why I was going to put there. I'll write the title down here.
Yeah, I'm an Android girl.
Okay, so you have to come up with a better name than that, Kelly.
Well, it's just my first one, you guys. But I have some good ones. Or I have one good one that I'm working on. I'm trying to look up what it's called exactly. Isn't that terrible?
Have you got time to go through it?
Sure. I'll pull up a better one. So this is just the little thing here, and the one that I'm working on right now is I think it's this prenatal one, yeah. So you know, I'm working on it for our College of Health Sciences for our sim lab, and for our sim lab, and because we need something that we can do charting on. So we've got these patients. There's no we've tried to buy one. We couldn't buy one because there isn't one on being able to document the way we would in the hospital, because it's going to help students to learn the vocabulary. It's going to help them to know what they're supposed to be documenting on. So I'm making one on OB documentation system. This is just one screen of it. This is a phone emulator, so it shows me what it would look like on the phone. It takes a minute to load, though. It's kind of slow.
So where did you get to this?
What? So through App Inventor, so that App Inventor.
So it is actually, okay.
Yep, and then you open this up, and then this background stuff is all the programming, because every button has to be programmed with what it's supposed to do. It's kind of taking forever. So.
And did I hear correctly that App Inventor and this stuff is on the open source Android stuff, right? So it's all free.
It's all free, and you just go and mess with it and play with it. So
since this is the first Apple device of any description I've ever possessed, so I'm very beginner, but there is that kind of problem where it was the same thing when they were duking it out about which kind of cheap audio DVD or whatever was going to be used, and there was a winner and there were 3 losers.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff, it's a little hard to deal with students because you can't really insist that they buy a device that squares with my device, and those are glitches that are, you know, like structural glitches in how to employ these devices in a classroom, because there's a great variety.
Absolutely there is, and I know as a university they're embracing Apple. It's better for disability. It's got more disability functions for those students. Stop me if I'm wrong on anything, Alan, but you know, I know it's been embraced. Personally, I just have an Android. That's what I got a deal on when I bought the phone. I just don't have an iPad, so all I have is a little iPod Touch that plays music. So, and but that one doesn't work so well anymore.
What?
That's a first generation.
You're swimming with it or something?
How soon we are forgotten.
Anyhow,
all right.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Sorry.
It's all right.
So this is just my app. They can enter the patient name, date of birth, all of this. I haven't deployed those boxes yet, so you can't type in them yet. But so fetal heart rate, they need to select what the rate is, or they're going to be using an ultrasound. They've got the baseline rate. It's 125. You know, so they're selecting these things that we care about as labor and delivery nurses. There's another page that has definitions, so vocabulary, if they don't know what I'm talking about, which they should. But my idea for this is, so they can go through and you know, click on all of these things. So my idea for this is that they can, and then they can write a note on the patient if they wanted to. We can use it in the SIM center. They can document all of this. We can take it in. We can look at what they documented and talk about, you know, what does this mean for your patient? What do you need to do differently, or what, you know, that kind of thing. So, so that's what I'm
Once they
working on.
make all these selections, what's the output? Just to the screen, or is it actually a shared
well, I've been
format?
thinking about it. Do I want to save it and have it emailed to the instructor or emailed to the student, or just have it go on the screen and once you hit submit, or once you clear the screen, it's done? I don't really know. I really don't want this to be used in an actual setting. You know, if it gets out there, I don't want someone to use it for a patient, because, you know, if you're a student, you have it with a patient. I don't want any patient information leaving the hospital with my student on their device.
Right.
So, you know, I haven't decided yet. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys have
So-
those sorts of issues.
We
Most
have-
of the people I
yeah.
deal with are dead.
So they don't care. They'd like to be written about.
If they do care, they're not saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, you know, that's one thing I'm kind of thinking about, but you know.
Yeah. Sounds like a cool idea.
Yeah. I totally love. But I love this kind of stuff. I'm just
sitting here trying to figure out how we got from frequent low stakes testing
Oh, because of quiz app.
to app.
Quiz
App
app.
development.
This is the way to do it, Alan.
Okay.
Keep up.
I was busy looking for Gordon Hodge.
There you go. So anyway, that's just different applications. So we've looked at Blackboard. We've talked about different ways of randomizing, pulling in blocks. We've talked about using the TED Ed as a way to do it online without your material that you could develop. We've talked about apps. We've talked about paper and pencil. So lots of different options for how we would do frequent low stakes testing. If you want time to think about your own and work on your own projects, that's great. If not, then that's about all I have for tonight. Any questions?
So one of the things that we probably ought to do with just a little time we have left, we did a good job. We're almost out of time. So, we come around to apps and the ability to use mobile devices with apps in frequent low stakes testing. But as you think about those 5 characteristics of smartphones, is there anything that really stands out to you as being frequent low stakes testing, and the opportunity to do that on a mobile device seems like it's a good match, or is there anything that's like, wow, there's something there that needs to really be figured out before we go ahead and go down that road? Do you need to see those again?
Well, I think we talked about the availability and whether students have access.
That's right. Access is a problem. Before you were to put this out and have it be hard and fast, you are going to do this on your mobile device. You have to make sure that everybody has access to it. Or you have to figure out some way of saying, it's okay for those of you that have them to go ahead and use them. And it won't be a detriment for those of you who don't.
I think that's the biggest issue. I mean, I was thinking about what, I forgot in which session, but somebody was talking about being one of the Emerald Scholarship, or the Scholar, that they've had, in a class of however many people, one or two was already had it, something like an iPad. But people have phones, but again, you've got the two platform issue.
Yeah.
Not everybody has a smartphone, so people have like flip phones or something, And so, if you've got a very low percentage of people who actually already own a device such as this one, can't make it required, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sort of throws the whole thing into a cocked hat in that sense. Unless the university were to provide all students in certain classes with loanable whatever platform, or if there was somehow, I can't see this happening, you student must spend $600 on this device to go to school here. And it's sort of like it's like the come-on they use at one of those Stevens Henniger for profit joints. We'll give you a free laptop, but it's going to cost you $30,000 to get this bogus certification, right?
There are universities do it,
All right.
right? That is one.
Yeah, like
well-funded. Abilene Christian, they require them to have a mobile device to come to school.
Where does?
Abilene Christian.
So that's the student and their family's responsibility to it prior to attending the school.
Like tuition fees, like insurance, everything else.
Lab fees and whatever they put some labs.
Right.
Yeah.
It really adds up, and in these times, it's, wow.
Well, you have to make it
Getting blood
worth
from a
it.
rock scarcely
Yeah,
gets to it.
Yeah. And those are
You
their
you wouldn't want to
responsibilities.
require it and then have it, it's used maybe 4 classes throughout their whole time.
If you're going to do that, it needs to
really-
be infused
It needs to be infused.
into everything that's happening in the curriculum, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Or at least a substantial portion thereof.
Make it worth it,
Right.
otherwise.
It's one class, not worth it.
So as I look at frequent low stakes testing, though, I see it as a good enough idea that can be taken care of in a number of different ways, that there isn't any reason not to expand it out into mobile if they have it, to just say, you know what, if we found this platform that'll run it that way, you can run it on a computer, at that point, Blackboard becomes worth it. You've said a lot of people who don't like Blackboard, and it's a course management system that has a lot of warts, but all of them do. The decision for me that constantly has to be made is my comfort level and effort versus what the student's going to get out of it. And sometimes what they want out of it, too, or what they demand from their education. And I know that I'm hearing stories along with, I don't like Blackboard, I'm also hearing stories of students who are saying, why don't more of my professors use Blackboard so that I can have the ease of access to the different materials and do certain things. And I've never had heard of a student yet who has complained about the fact that, oh, he lets me go through all of his test banks multiple times as a learning exercise. I hate that. Nobody's ever said that. And they see that as a huge plus, especially when you're moving them from what is it that you expect me to know on the test to, oh, look what I just figured out from all this content, and now I understand this. So it seems to me that frequent low stakes testing is a good bet. If I wasn't doing it up till now, I'd find a way to do it, and then find a way to make it accessible to as many platforms as I could, because there's just so much bang for the buck.
So with Blackboard, if you had your course stuff there, your syllabus, links, all the rest of the jazz, and you were trying to do the sort of online quizzing, are Android and Apple devices equally connectable to Blackboard so that they could take it?
There's Blackboard apps. I don't like it on my phone because I can't see the whole thing. It makes me nuts. So I would just get to a computer and do it. But there are Blackboard apps for both.
But there are some people who
markets.
live for that.
That's right. That's right.
Ooh, look what I can do on my phone.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
do it no
and
matter
they're
how
totally
small or
into it.
difficult it is, right?
Right, and I'm like, no, I can't see it. I need the whole thing. So
But
it's
yes,
personal preference.
they have a mobile Learn app for both the Android and the iOS platform. Additionally, you can take tests using just the browser on here as well, so you don't even have to go through the whole Learn app. So as long as whatever device you have has a browser, you can be successful in testing as well.
Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.